Welcome to Should You Platinum, a show where I talk about a game I've recently got the platinum in and share my experience of the platinum journey and whether or not I think you should platinum it. So as 2022 is about to draw to a close, I thought it would be a good idea to look back at all the games I played this year and come up with my top 10 best platinum journeys of 2022. So straight in at number 10 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the rebooted series that is. So this game was one that basically just took me just over a week really. It wasn't that bad of a trophy list, and the platinum journey was pretty fun, to be fair. The game itself, the single player, it's just like a summer blockbuster movie. It only lasts about 8 to 10 hours. So it's a very, very short campaign, but I really enjoyed it. There are a few levels where it doesn't really do much. There's like an Amsterdam one that you sort of walk down a road, put something in a bin, and then kill like 3 guys and it's over. So some of it does feel a bit rushed and undercooked, but there are some really cool moments. It's very Uncharted style bits later on in the game that I really enjoyed. Overall, trophy-wise, there's not really too much that's going to cause you trouble. Veteran in this game isn't as bad as some of the other older sort of Call of Duty games. So if you've beaten like COD Modern Warfare 1 or 2, the originals, then you'll easily be able to do this. There's a few sections where it is bullshit, but there's plenty of checkpoints throughout the levels. Some of the ones towards the end, the very last mission, there's a few hairy bits in that when you go through the window into the building and you've got to sort of defend. But for the most part, you'll be able to get through after a few attempts. And because there's so many checkpoints, it does make it a lot easier. Other than Veteran, though, the only other hard trophies are the handful of multiplayer ones. Thankfully, you don't have to play the actual multiplayer and level up and prestige. But there are these Spec Ops missions. There's 3 missions at the minute. A sort of defend the sort of bases one, which is fairly easy. You just have to get 3 stars on that, which is basically don't let more than 2 or 3 of those bases get blown up. And I did that first time. There's another one at night, which, let me check, is called Low Profile, and that has a Night Fright trophy for getting 3 stars on that. That one can be tricky, and it also has another trophy tied to it called Going Dark, which requires you to beat that mission without raising the alarm. Now, I used a glitch for that, which made it a lot easier because I could play through the level, raise as many alarms as I wanted, and then just failed on the last checkpoint. And then when it restarts, it just gives me the trophy. So that one was a lot easier on my run through the game. That might have been patched now. So that one's definitely a tricky one because you need to do these with another partner online. So if you've got a friend that can help you, these will be a lot easier. But if you're doing it online with randoms like I was, it can be tricky. But for me, the hardest trophy in the game was the Hellride trophy for beating the 3rd Spec Ops co-op mission, denied area, with a 3-star rating. So for the most part, those 3 stars on Low Profile and Denied Area are just through time limit and how long it took you. But with this Denied Area one, you can't really do it on your own quick enough, or at least I couldn't. I didn't have the skill to do it. And this one, you have to blow up loads of SAM sites, and at some point you need to split up, and one goes to D, one goes to B, and then you meet in C for the last one before exiting the level. And with the time limit, it's just really tight. So that's something you definitely need to be aware of if you go for the platinum. But yeah, it was a fun platinum. It didn't last me long. Like I said, it was only a week, so it was kind of just like running, guns blazing, and then it just sort of fizzled out like a firework kind of thing, and I moved on to the next game within a week. But I did enjoy it, and that's why I put it at number 10 in my list of best platinum journeys. The number 9 spot goes to Assassin's Creed 2, which I played on the PS4 via the Ezio collection. This is by far the easiest platinum to get in the Assassin's Creed series, because this was back in a time before Ubisoft got an obsession with just more content. So this is the least bloated of the Assassin's Creed games. So you can zoom the map right out on this, and you can still pretty much see the map for the most part. It's not completely covered with collectibles, bullshit side missions, and all the other guff that they throw into some of the later ones. So this one is a much, much more enjoyable platinum journey, and it's also an easier one as well, because this was also before they had the idea to put in the trophy for 100% syncing each memory. So you don't have any of that stuff where you have 3 objectives, mini objectives, or side objectives, whatever you want to call them, to do in each level. So you don't have to, like, don't touch the floor, use the knife to kill someone, don't get seen at all. There's none of those things. So you can go in however you like, and if you're a stealthy pro and no one sees you and you kill your target and get out without ever getting caught, then great. But if, like me, you try and do that, but then you try and jump down or something, and Ezio just decides to do something completely different, and then the guards spot you, and it just evolves into this Benny Hill sort of chase where you're trying to run and get your target and you kill him with everyone seeing you, then that's fine, because you haven't got to worry. You can play this however you like and make as many mistakes as you want. And that's what's great about Assassin's Creed 2 Platinum. It was a really fun game to go back to and play again. I really enjoyed it for the most part. The one thing that annoyed me with this one was, weirdly, the Assassin Tombs. I couldn't stand them. They were just so, like, oh god, just finish already. And there was loads of those for the trophies. And another thing I didn't like was the glyphs and those puzzle things that you had to do to solve them. I still don't get how anyone could ever figure out some of those without using a guide. So if you are going to play this, I would recommend 100% using a video guide on YouTube to show you how to solve those puzzles, where to find them, and also to collect the feathers. But even though I hate collectible trophies, the feathers one wasn't too bad, to be fair. It was only 100 feathers, and it didn't take me too long. So yeah, other than that, trophy-wise, I suppose the only other one that you got to watch out for is that fly swatter one, for hitting someone off a rooftop when you're on the glider in like mission 8 or something, because that one can be easily missed because it doesn't really tell you that you can do that move. As for the rest of the trophies, there was just the usual story-based ones. You had to upgrade the whole village, you had to spend so much money, throw so many coins on the floor, kills in certain ways, maybe other little collectible things that was small and didn't really matter. So yeah, it's not a hard platinum. It's just a fun game to go back to and play. It is sort of showing its age a bit now. It's a little bit clunky, and the story isn't as great as I remembered. But I did have a blast playing it, and that's why I put it at number 9 in my list. In the number 8 spot, we have Batman Arkham Asylum, which I played via the PS4 Return to Arkham collection. So this is a classic game, basically, that I played and already platinumed on the PS3. And this time round, it was a lot easier. I still had to use a guide for all of the Riddler collectibles, or at least some of them. But they do get marked on the map. But some of the riddle ones, where you get a sentence and you got to try and solve it, I didn't really know what they were. So I did use a guide to finish off the last few that I needed in each area to get the 100%. Sadly, there's only one gold trophy in this, and that is for 100% in Arkham Asylum, doing everything and getting all the challenges done and collectibles and everything done. It would have been nice if there was a few more golds, but it's still a really fun and at times challenging platinum journey. I think the biggest roadblock for a lot of people would be the combat challenges, which basically require you to get 24 medals, so you need to get the maximum of 3 medals on each challenge. And like in the first time I did this, the hardest one was Shock and Awe Extreme because of the time limit and the amount of enemies you need to kill before the floor executes you. But because I played Batman Asylum, City, Night, and loads of other games since that have copied that combat style, I'm more used to it now than what I was before when I first played it, because that was all new back in the PS3 days. So I've kind of been so accustomed to that combat style, I was a lot better at it this time, and I found that challenge to be a lot easier than the first time I did it. Other than that, though, there isn't really anything to worry about, to be honest. There's 1 or 2 missable trophies. You have to knock out all of the guards who welcome you in that corridor to the party in Joker's room near the end of the game. But I think everything else, I think you can just go and get at any point, because you're going to be going back to areas, because it's very much a Metroidvania style game. The story still holds up really well. It still looks nice. It's well voice acted, and the gameplay is still pretty solid. Obviously, he's a bit more slow and clunkier compared to how he was in the later sequels, because they did refine it. But on the whole, it's still a great game to play, and one that I would definitely recommend. This was like one of my earliest platinum trophies, so it was kind of a nice little throwback to go back and experience this again. You do have to complete the game on hard mode, but that one, for me at least, it didn't really give me that much of a problem, because there's always a decent checkpoint, and it's only a couple of fights here and there that might be tricky. So don't be put off by those difficulty trophies either. There's also a trophy for performing all of Batman's moves in a single combo, but that's one that you want to do at the end of the game once you've unlocked everything, because you need to use like the grapple hook, the batarang, and a load of other things that you get later on. So it's worth just waiting for those, and you need to sort of master that technique of doing a combo with every move chained together for the combat challenges and to be successful with them, because that will give you a nice bonus points. There are also some other challenges, the Predator challenges, and they are more stealth based. Those are tricky, but I just always used a video guide on YouTube for those, just to tell me exactly where you need to go when you need to attack certain enemies, because it's always the same. It's very much a scripted sort of thing. The guards will always go to certain places, and if you can do all your stuff in between them, you'll easily be able to get them. So those aren't a problem. It's just the combat challenges, really. So yeah, that is another fun one, but because I've already done it, I didn't want to put it too low down on the list, so that's why it's at the position it is.
In at number 7 is The Last of Us Part 1, which is quite a surprising one, because I thought this would have been a much higher on my list, because The Last of Us, and The Last of Us Remastered in particular on PS4, is without a doubt my favourite game of all time, so I should have been really hyped for this. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. It's still the same great game, and visually it looks awesome. But this one, the journey just wasn't as fun this time around, because they just made it such a basic and simple trophy list, and they just dumbed down everything about it. Obviously, it didn't have the online, because they're deliberately not going to want to put that in this when they're busy working on their whole free-to-play, play-to-win, subscription-based multiplayer that they're going to come out with. So it didn't have the multiplayer, and so it obviously didn't have those trophies for completing all the Firefly and Hunter journeys and whatever else they had associated to those multiplayer ones. So a big chunk of the game is missing in this version. But they did put in the Left Behind stuff, and the trophies for that were also tied into the main list. So it's just one big list with all those trophies in for the Platinum. But they took out some Left Behind ones, and they've also took out some single player campaign ones as well, because you no longer need to complete it on any hard difficulty or anything. There's no complete it on easy, normal, hard, survivor, grounded. All of those trophies are gone now, so basically you can just put it on whatever difficulty you like and breeze through it. And with all the accessibility options that they made, which are awesome, you can make the game even easier if you want to. It just becomes ridiculous. And they did add a couple of new trophies, but they were so half-assed, it just didn't seem worth even putting them in. One for just picking up Bill's note that he drops on the floor just before you get into the car, and then another one for not high-fiving Ellie at the dam, one when you're in trying to escape with Henry and Sam, for turning on the generator, or turning off the generator rather, without getting seen. They were just like, what a load of crap. Nothing good. When you're in the sewers as well, you have to jump on the moving platform before it goes off without you. But I do that literally every time I play it anyway, because I get right out of the water and run round before it starts moving. So those were just a bit lackluster, to be honest. I would have liked some more interesting ones. You know, just not using certain weapons, a playthrough where you don't heal, you know, challenging ones like that would have been pretty cool. And I knew this going in, that the trophy list would be really easy, so I put it on Grounded, but I swear they've done something with this, because even Grounded seemed easier. There seemed to be a lot more checkpoints. Like, imagine Grounded on PS3 and 4, checkpoint here, checkpoint there. But with remastered, there'd be a checkpoint in the middle as well. So with the part 1, sorry, not remastered, there'd be a checkpoint in the middle. So you didn't have as far back to go. I definitely saw that a lot of times. Like when you're running through the school, there was like a mid checkpoint there before you got to the bloater. So yeah, it's still an awesome game, but this one was just a bit of too much of a by the numbers, dull sort of playing it safe trophy list, which is why it doesn't go higher up on my list of fun ones, because while the game is still absolutely amazing, the trophy list does leave a lot to be desired. And don't get me wrong, the list wasn't that great to begin with, but at least there was challenge there. This one is basically just complete the game, pick up everything, and then do the odd little side thing, some of which you'll do because it's tied to a collectible anyway. So yeah, it could have been a lot better, but it was still an awesome game. And if you'd never played the others, then definitely get this one. Just missing out on the top 5 is a game that I kind of didn't really know too much about, but it kind of looked cool with the art style, and I just took a chance on it, and I ended up really enjoying it, and that is Fist Forged in Shadow Torch. Now this is basically a Metroidvania sort of game, a 2D side scroller where you play as a rabbit who has a mech arm attached to his back, and you can use that to punch enemies. But it also doubles up as a drill, as well as a helicopter blade with the drill, and a whip, which also doubles up as a sort of slingshot grapple hook thing. And basically you get all of these abilities as you play through the game, which then allows you to go back to areas you first visited and do things in them that you couldn't do beforehand, get to areas that you couldn't reach before, and so on. So it's very much a Metroid game, and the trophies kind of reflect that. There's basically trophies for getting all the upgrades, basically 100% in each area. So finding all the chests, finding all the discs, the items, the missions, and doing everything in each area on the map to bring it all up to 100%. So that's the main thing you're going to be doing with this Platinum Journey as you play through the game, and then in the end game when you go back to just before the boss to mop up all the areas you were missing. For the most part, I had a blast with this. I did play it on easy. I'm not sure why, but I did end up going on easy, and it was just really fun. It was one where I could just relax, and it's a gamer's game, you know what I mean? It doesn't have all these long-winded cutscenes in. It's not trying to do a cinematic story. It's just a game, and it's a fun one at that. Trophy-wise, the only one that was a bit annoying, well, there was two really, and I covered them in that one bullshit trophy episode. One was the training, where you have to get to like the advanced or master sort of level training and do all the combo moves there. That one was just a bit awkward because of where you do it and the controls and how you switch between what arm you've got equipped, whether it's the fist, the drill, or the whip. Do you like how I did it there with my hands? Very nice. So yeah, that was a bit clunky. It could have been better. And then the other trophy that was a bit annoying was the parry one, because the way you parry is kind of strange. You got to look away from the enemy as they hit you, or look at the enemy as they hit you. It was just awkward. But yeah, it's a fun platinum, and it doesn't take too long either. I'm sure I did it in under 20 hours. And yeah, it's just, if you like those sort of games, then this one is definitely worth your time and money. So I would 100% recommend it. In at number 5 is Stray. Now, this was given away as an absolutely amazing game to be given away on PlayStation Plus. So I got this for free, if you don't really count the subscription you pay. It was free, and it was brilliant. One of the coolest games I played in the year. It was very much a chilled game. You play as a cat. There are no humans around anymore. There's just robots, and you're in this strange world. And basically, it's a story game, but you play as a cat. You can do parkour with a cat, run around. You can do all the things a cat can do. And yeah, it was a fun game. There was one really annoying trophy in the game, the Can't Catch Me trophy, which required you to get through this chase sequence without ever getting caught by these blob things that would jump at you. And basically, you just involved waggling the stick left and right as you ran to hope that you would dodge the attacking enemies as they jumped to try and land on you. And that one was very frustrating. That one took me way too long, and it did start to sour the experience of the game. But once I got past that, the rest of it was just easy and chilled. You didn't have to really worry too much. There was lots of little trophies for just doing things within the environment. If you were curious like a cat, you might end up stumbling across like a hidden trophy that you didn't know about. There was one where I found a TV on a rooftop, and I was pressing the remote control, flicking through the channels, just seeing what was on it. And after flicking through so many, it unlocked a trophy. There was another one where there was a ball at the top of this ramp going down, and there was a bucket at the bottom. And if you pushed the ball off just by walking into it, and you could line it up right, you would roll it into the bucket, and you'd get a trophy for that. There was a weird trophy, like a stupid trophy for just sleeping for an hour or something. Or 10 minutes, one or the other, where you just didn't do nothing for that length of time, and that was a bit annoying. But other than that, it's a really fun and relaxing game to play, and one that I would definitely recommend you check out, especially if you've still got PlayStation Plus and it's still on there for free. 100% play it, man. It was a great game and an easy, chill, fun platinum. In at number 4 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. This is a return to the classic 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up games of Konami's past, and this was a fantastic tribute to those games, but also an advancement of those games as well, because you've not just got like 2 moves to use all the way through. These much more developed turtles now, even though it plays and looks like the classic TV show, it's got modern day elements to it, so there's a lot more you can do with the combat. It's kind of a bit like the Streets of Rage game that this company made, and you can do more moves. You've got more combos you can do. You can pick up enemies, you can throw them into the screen still, you can bounce them off the walls and keep comboing them. So there's a lot more to it, and going back to the old ones with the Cowabunga collection, this game kind of ruined those, because this game is perfect. I still prefer Streets of Rage, but this is a fantastic second place in like the greatest side scrollers. The music is fantastic. The levels are great. I like how you don't just see one enemy, fight them at one end of one stage, and that's it. Like Bebop and Rocksteady, they last for quite a long time throughout the game, and that was just really cool. Shredder and Krang are in it, and all the other classic sort of characters, as well as a few obscure ones are in it. So it's kind of very much a love letter to Turtles fans like myself who watched this as a kid back in the 80s and 90s. Trophy wise, there are a few quite hard trophies, to be fair, and when I played it as it first came out, I did actually glitch a few of these. There was one trophy called Who Needs a Doc, which required you to defeat the end boss of the game, Super Shredder, without getting hit, and I cheated this one by joining an online multiplayer game as they were about to defeat him, so it wouldn't count as any hits given for me. But that one, if you had to do it on your own, would definitely require a lot of practice to be able to do it. You also have to beat the game on hard mode, which can be tricky. But again, if you're playing with people online or friends, there's more of you, so it is a bit more manageable. I don't think there was a trophy for beating a stage without getting hit, thankfully. But you do have to beat Shredder without getting hit, which is a problem. There was also a trophy for completing the arcade mode without losing I think it was a continue, so you could die like 3 times, but you couldn't ever continue on from that. So again, that's another one that you can do with multiplayer friends. Then there was just the normal sort of trophies. There was a load of story bonds for beating each stage. Eating pizzas, there's 20 pizzas which you just got to naturally do as you're playing through the game. There was also a bunch of collectibles and little side missions that you could do by finding certain characters and then finding items for them in other levels. So those were some trophies tied to that. You also had to level up each turtle, as well as April and Shredder, Splinter rather. Shredder, that would have been a cool character to play as. So there was a trophy, no need for mutagen, gold one, which just required you to do that, but it was fairly, it was fairly quick to do that. It didn't really take that long. Deflect 10 projectiles, so when someone throws something at you, you just whack it back. There was one for reviving your teammates, so you'd kind of have to do that with a second controller or online. And then it was like cheer up Raphael, so you do like high fives with each other to share health and things. So yeah, it was fairly simple. There was a combo one for getting like a 250 hit combo, but there's ways you can sort of cheat that by just pinning a guy into the corner and just keeping them up in the air. But that one shouldn't give you too many problems, and that was about it for the trophy list, really. I think I blitzed this in like 2 days, like, because I just absolutely loved it. And by the end of it, I had that classic sort of problem where the tip of your thumb's just all blistering because I was just holding down that D-pad constantly, just playing this game. But yeah, it's so much fun. It's a really, really good game. This was like one of the stronger games that came out this year, and it definitely should have won awards if it didn't, because it's great sound, the visuals, and just the gameplay, and the overall package was just, it was a great game. And it's a fun and easy trophy list for the most part, though if they have patched those trophies to stop you doing those glitches, it is going to bump the difficulty up a bit. So just be aware of that. Check first if you're a bit concerned. Just check to see if they have patched those or not. But yeah, this is a great game, especially if you've got a bunch of mates or friends online to play with. This will be an absolute blast. You'll have such a good laugh with this. It was a really, really good game. So yeah, a great game and a good, easy-ish, with some challenging trophies if they are patched, Platinum Journey. In at number 3 is actually 2 games, but I decided to lump those together because, well, they're basically from the same game franchise, and they are the Platinum Journeys for Siphon Filter 1 and 2, some of the very few, sadly, PS1 games released via the PS Plus Premium Collection that also actually include trophies. And I really wish more companies would release their classic PS1 and 2 collections via this service with trophy support. So thank you very much to Sony Bend, first of all, 989 Studios, or Sony Bend as they're called now. Thank you very much for taking the time and effort to actually put trophies into these PS1 classics, because I tell you what, I had an absolute blast this year replaying Siphon Filter 1 and 2. I always loved this series, but my god, these games are still friggin' awesome. Once you get used to the controls and how best to shoot, don't use the lock-on, use the first-person aim. So run around, stop, aim with first person, shoot them in the head with your little target, and then move on. Once you get used to that, the games are fantastic. They are so much fun, and I really enjoyed playing through both of them. So they do have trophies, but they are on the very basic side. But I get it. It must be tricky to try and implement those into such old games. So Siphon Filter 2, we'll start with Siphon Filter 1. So Siphon Filter 1 has the more in-depth sort of trophy list, where you've got loads of trophies for completing the missions, but there's also some missed trophies. So there's one where you have to find a hidden room in the bunker. There's one where you have to escape the snow base without killing anyone. So you have like a time limit on that level to run out of the base, and you just got to try and run past everyone and get out really quickly. There's one for dropping a chandelier onto an enemy, so you do that later on in the church, sort of cathedral level. There's one where you go into the labs and you can shoot a vial of the Siphon Filter virus to kill one of the enemies in there, so you'll get a trophy for that. There's a trophy for getting 20 headshots with a pistol. There's a trophy for shattering like 50 panes of glass. And there's a trophy for eliminating an enemy with all 12 of the main weapons: the pistol, the rifle, the shotgun, the machine guns, the Desert Eagle, all of those sort of weapons. But sadly, and it happens in Siphon Filter 2, sadly they never put a trophy for using the taser, or using the taser on someone for so long that you burn them to a crisp. And I really think that should have been a trophy, but it's not. And it didn't stop me from using the taser and doing that on near enough every enemy I could, but I just wish they had put a trophy for that in there. Better news though is that they both come with a platinum trophy, so it's really cool to have these two games on my trophy list at long last. And I'm really hoping and crossing my fingers that Tomb Raider series comes to it with trophies and platinums. Metal Gear comes to it with trophies and platinums, and that Capcom decide to actually pull their finger out and release Resi 2 and 3 with trophy support, because they fucked it up with Resi 1. I'm also hoping to see like Crash Bandicoots come out, even though we've had the Insane trilogy. I would like to get the original 3 on there with trophies. So yeah, I'm hoping this gets supported more in 2023 with some of the bigger hitters. But I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing Siphon Filter 3, and then maybe the PSP ones, and hopefully they'll have trophy support as well. But yeah, Siphon Filter 1 was fantastic, and Siphon Filter 2 is even better. It's a bigger, more bolder sort of game, and it's very much like Uncharted, and I really wish that Sony would greenlight a Siphon Filter remake, because I just picture, especially like Uncharted 1's gunplay, using the cover, snapping out, shooting. That is Siphon Filter for me now, how it would be now. You wouldn't have the lock-on thing. It would just be a cover-based, third-person, cinematic action-adventure game. And considering Uncharted's sort of gone now, I know there's rumours of a reboot, but because it was gone now for several years, this game should have took its place and come back. Without Metal Gear either, there's no Metal Gears anymore, so it would have been the only sort of big stealth game that's coming out. And I just think it could have worked really well as like a cinematic spy action-adventure with the sort of Uncharted sort of gameplay, because he does do platforming in this game as well. So hopefully we do get a return to form with Siphon Filter coming back out soon. But in the meantime, at least we've got these to play with trophy support. So Siphon Filter 2 is also having trophies, but they are just basically a more basic list. It's just basically complete every level in the game, and you'll get a trophy after the end of every level, and then you just get your platinum at the end. So that one was a little bit disappointing that there was no trophies to go for other than just completing the game. But at the same time, it was kind of nice to just be able to just play through the game, fail missions as much as I wanted, not find all the secrets, not find any collectibles it has, and not have to worry about getting so many kills with each weapon. I could just sit there, play the game, and have trophies pop in the background when I completed a level. So it was great. So yeah, if you've got access to these games on PlayStation, definitely check them out, because Siphon Filter is one of the greatest games on PlayStation 1. So yeah, that's why it gets that spot. Yeah, Leon. So the number 2 spot is actually a game that came out in 2021, and I had it for Christmas that year, but I didn't actually start playing it until 2022 in January. So that's why I'm counting it in this list, because it was also one of my favourite games that I've played this year, and you probably haven't even heard of it, though it is on Plus now, so maybe you have. But if you're wondering about it, definitely play this, because I fucking love this game. It was fantastic. So this is Chorus. It's a third-person space shooter RPG action game where you are a pilot in a ship who also talks to you because there's some sort of link. I don't really want to go into the story, but this game was just brilliant. I loved it. The dogfighting mechanics, the way you can move around, the special powers your ship can get, so you can teleport right behind an enemy to easily get them instead of just constantly moving the camera around to look around. It was fantastic, and I loved it. It was a really, really fun game, and it was long too. There was a lot to it, but it never felt like, oh my god, just end. It was like, oh my god, it's still going on. This is brilliant. I can't wait. And you go to various different planets, and they all look really cool. You're always flying in space, just to say, but you go to different galaxies or solar systems, I suppose. And it was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. The trophy list and platinum journey was fairly straightforward. There was 4 golds, 6 silvers, and 32 bronze trophies in this game, along with the platinum. So there was like 43 trophies altogether. But it was great. I really enjoyed it. There was the typical do some missions in story, get the trophies. There was collectibles to find. There was like this whole mastery system where the more you used a gun, you would level it up. So you had to do that for all the weapons. There was a few there that you could possibly miss out on doing, so you just needed to be aware of them. What I tended to do was, as soon as I got introduced to a new gun, a new weapon, or a new ability, or a new enemy, I would just rinse that area, just repeating it, dying over, restarting checkpoint, because it would count the progress. And I would just keep doing that until I got more than enough to give me a head start on them. So I knew I'd get it either there or then, or later on. But yeah, this was great. I really enjoyed this game, and please do check it out. So in at number 1, amazingly, is one of the hardest platinum journeys I went on this year, and one of the games that almost made me want to cry and just give up on the platinum. And it is actually not Gran Turismo 7, no, because that one was an absolute slog, especially with that fucking car shop trophy with the legendary cars. That can fuck right off. No, it is of course Sifu, my absolute favourite game of the year. I really enjoyed this title, and it was mainly due to the Prodigal Child trophy, which required you to beat the game aged 25 or less, because this third person scrolling 3D sort of beat 'em up has a little gimmick to it where every time you die, your character ages by a year. So you start off age 20, but if you keep dying throughout your game, you can end up becoming like 70 odd.
It's by far the biggest challenge of the game because it's really hard to not die in levels. I think the first time I did it, I wiped out at level 4 when I was like 70 odd. But thankfully you can go back to levels and retry them. So it's very much a game that just knocks you down but then builds you up, and you learn how to fight much better. And it was just an amazing journey to go on, for all the highs and lows of trying to get that trophy and beat the game aged under 25. And I had so much fun with it that I went back and played the PS4 version of the game and ended up actually platinuming this twice. And on the PS4 version, I beat it aged like 21 or something ridiculous. So I visibly saw the improvements as I went on and the more I played the game. So yeah, that is my top 10 best platinum journeys that I had in 2022. What were yours? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. I know this has been a long video, but I appreciate it if you made it this far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Super beating them gaming. He's got his